All right, I'm slowly going to give you an intro while we start rolling. So, yay. If you didn't know, Susan Fenema was a part of the OG original creator last year of Build.Grow.Learn. So us three put this on last year for the first time. And then Susan moved on to bigger, better, grandiose things. Founder-wise, she's still here and a speaker. But I'm real excited because I've had opportunity to work with both of them in various capacities, Joe and Susan. So Susan and I have been leading a business mastermind group called One Life Mastermind under the premise of you don't have a work life and a personal life, you only have one life. And so one affects the other positively or negatively. And then Joe and I have become good friends living here because I moved here and didn't even know he lived 10 minutes from me until he saw on Facebook. He's like, did you just move to Simpsonville, South Carolina? I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, I live right down the road. This is my homestead. So it's been great to get together with both of them and really collaborate in a variety of business and consider you both good friends. So appreciate both of you. And I'm the MC to live vicariously through two people who have broken free from owner dependency. And so I'm still dependent, and that's why I'm just leading and facilitating this, not yet on the panel. So that's my role, is to help you realize from people who've been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. So I wanted to think about these kinds of things and these should be the takeaways you're considering, all right, as we jump into this. These are going to be ways to recognize that you are the bottleneck or your business is bottlenecked by you as the owner, all right? What are practical delegation and empowerment strategies to actually get you out of the way in some of these areas? And then talking about systems that can drive the independence that you're looking for. And these are fun real-life success stories. This is not some smoke and mirrors or hypotheticals. These are two people who are doing it, and that's why we put the panel together like this. So, Susan, if you didn't know, do you want to intro yourself?
Sure.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared, but I think I know enough about it.
Well, at least tell us your business name and where you came up with the name from. That's the part I wanted.
I'm the Chaos Eradicating Officer, CEO for Beyond the Chaos, speaker, author, business owner. We do operations consulting for small businesses, usually 20 people or fewer, in the professional services realms.
Love this. So tell me if you would need this. Susan helps small business owners escape the day-to-day operations of their business by building and using better systems. Yay, we could all use that, yes. 30 years of experience, guided hundreds of businesses through freedom and growth. Love that. Joe, CEO of Scarpetta Group. Both of these people are holding books. I love this. So
we're authors.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's really great. So Joe's team specializes custom software development solutions, helps businesses more efficiently. 25-year FileMaker experience, creator of Jarvis CRM. He has no interest in Marvel or Star Wars, as he named his company Jarvis. If you haven't seen his office, it is sweet. Frequent speaker and scaler of systems. I also didn't notice you put on here, but you won an award at the FileMaker conference last year, correct?
Yes, which was the interface for Jarvis.
For the Interface Design Excellence Award amongst the Claris group, which is great. Together, you guys just released a book that has the first hard copies here, and it is called what?
Your business is holding you hostage.
Yes, it is. Mine is. So, if you don't know me, I'm Brandon Hayes, run Kalos, and we work together because I like doing business with people I actually enjoy being around, which is fun when you're the owner. You could actually pick the people you partner with, which is why I've had the privilege and chose to work with you guys. So, quick raise of hands. Who here would say you've ever worked on a weekend that you didn't want to work?
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. I hope nobody does this. Does anybody brag that you don't take vacations? Or that you don't take your time off? Nobody? Okay, good. It is kind of a weird American thing that, like, it's cool if you don't use your PTO. So we're just curious, all right?
What's your question? Do we brag about it, or do we actually?
Yeah, all right.
Do you brag? We've actually had people that are so proud of the fact that they haven't taken a vacation in 20 years. Yeah. Super proud.
All right.
not
Anybody
be.
wear the number of hours they work in a given week and a month as a badge of honor? You feel like that's good because you're a hustler and putting in extra hours. I see some iffies. Okay. I'll let that marinate.
That's the thing is, I don't really think people use it as a badge of honor as much anymore. I believe they do, but it still doesn't mean it's not.
It's not right.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Like,
It's a way of justifying, like it's something
Yeah.
I'm meant to do that.
Or
Yeah.
I'm so important, right?
Yeah.
I'm so important that I have to work this much.
How
They
many?
need who are they? Will be.
It's me.
Yes. I was told if I didn't work 60 to 70 hours a week when I started my business, I wouldn't make it. That was most of my mentors told me that. We'll get to that in a second. How many would say that you have been constantly worried about making payroll? Paying your team, paying your staff. Yep.
We got some. Yeah.
Afraid to hire or fire an employee. Maybe you were just in my session. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. We're not going to ask you whether it was hiring or firing you're afraid of, but let me ask you this. No one can do it as good as I can do it. Yep.
Yeah, that one hurts.
That does hurt.
That one hurts.
Some of you are like, yeah, that's why I'm the owner, right? Who would do it better than me? All right. Ooh. How many can take an unplugged vacation and not worry about your business whatsoever while you're gone? 2 hands. All right. Let me give you a couple examples before I kick it over to them. Here are some signs that I was handcuffed to my business and that it was dependent on me. The first one is when I'm hiding my cell phone under the dinner table with my family to respond to an email or see if it vibrates to make sure I can respond to that client, or, well, justifying, well, some of my clients work on the West Coast, so it's not 6 p.m. there. That's how I started my business, by going to the stall during date night with my wife, saying I had to go to the bathroom when I didn't, to check my messages and emails and respond to
Wow.
my team members. That's a true story.
That's rough.
Yeah. I didn't have a book to read that could help me get out of this. I'd be reading that in the restroom instead of my Slack channel. I literally went on vacation and constantly justified that it was okay to be on vacation, yet still be in the hotel room while in Mexico working on things while my family and wife were down at the beach, because the business still has to run. We got to still make money. And so these are real life scenarios where I had to have like a hard talk with my family, that they came to me like, hey, Dad, even on vacation, like you're here, but you're not really like here sometimes. Or like my kid telling me, wow, Dad, it seems like you're just really busy on the phone all the time. Like crushing to hear these kinds of thoughts and conversations, okay? So that's me. I'm 10 years in, so I do a little bit less of this, but I need this as your MC just as much as I need you guys. So tell me this, business owners can't only be great at business trade. How many of you started your business because you were really good at like one thing that you knew you did really well? Okay. And how many realized that you also then were going to have to do finance, HR, marketing, sales, legal, operations, sweep the floor, clean the toilets, hire the team members, fire the people, and grow the business? Yeah. You cannot do everything, right? So here's some questions we want to ask you guys about these. First off, can you tell me just a little bit about these books that you have, that you're holding? So Joe, fresh off the press,
Yes.
just tell us a little bit about the aha moment when you realized like you were a bottleneck. Because there was a time when you probably couldn't write this book, right?
Absolutely. So one of the times, well, some of it was invoicing. So, I mean, that was, you have that trade where it's like, do I do the work or do I do the billing? Mm-hmm. And so you see things like that. Another good example would be knowing the requirements of a project, but not being able to get all that information out, or somebody not knowing things that I know.
Yeah. So you literally have been at a point where it's like, do I spend the time invoicing or do I just keep billing and working on projects for people?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Susan, did you have an aha moment when you realized like you were the problem and the bottleneck for the thing to grow?
Mine was pretty early on. I started thinking I would just take my excellent project management services, and I was not going to hire any people. I was just going to do project management for all the people I knew that needed it. Mm-hmm. Great. You want to know what I did all day? I was stressed. I sat at my desk. I couldn't do sales. I couldn't do invoicing. Everything was me, and I was doing all the things. And I'm like, okay, this is not going to fly. So I hired my first person who actually worked for you, Laura, way back in 2017. And she was great. She did all the project management, and I did all the rest of the stuff. And every single time I'd be like, okay, but I can't make traction here. So I would get somebody to do that. And every time I shed something, I started to develop more freedom. Yeah. But without the processes, that's what this book is about, Efficiency Amplified. Without the processes, there was no way to delegate that out to people. And we'll get to that part, I know. But
well, this is huge because did you have processes, Joe, before you wrote this book?
No.
No, before you wrote the book, you
Before I
did.
wrote the book, yes. But no, early on, no. And that was a hard conversation Susan and I had, and she almost brought me in kicking and screaming to get them written. And then that's when I started to realize even more freedom, because now people understood how the business ran and what the different things were. And that was like a big wake-up call to simplify that.
So what most critical system or process would you say out of the gate for many of us who are like running around with our hair on fire, doing all the things, right? What is one of these processes or systems? Because I think we hear that word and we don't really know. Like, what is one that you would say this was critical to start to free you up from being the everything officer?
Well, that was invoicing. So when we've got the processes down, we set the rules in place when we'd invoice, and then I handed that off, and I've maybe written one invoice in the last 2 years.
Come on, that's great. Which has left you more time to do what?
Now I'm spending more time on sales. I'm spending more time with my family.
Oh, amazing. All right.
My answer?
Yeah, Mrs. Systems and Process herself, what was one that you would said is mission critical when you're first thinking about removing the business being dependent on you?
So this was the one that was the hardest for me. And it had to be early on for me to get out of doing the work for my clients. How do you take 30 years of experience of talking to business owners, whether you're working for them or now serving them, how do you take that experience and teach someone who does not have it how to ask the right questions, how to be able to get the right information in order to do the correct discovery to create a project? So they could implement, my team could implement it, no problem. But it turns out they can do that too.
Wow. So you don't have to be on every single conversation or client discovery?
I'm not in any client discovery.
Wow.
Yeah. But we systemize that.
Amazing. You wouldn't have like a book that would help you like systematize
This will help it, but that part I actually had to, I had to systemize myself the way that I was asking the questions so that I could, and I recorded all the calls, which helped. And then as I did that, I was able to tweak it and then document it, then kind of ride side by side with people as they started it, and then they were off and running. And we don't even have questions when we're onboarding people anymore.
Wow, incredible. That's huge. Joe, this wasn't on my list, but I just want to ask you, was it helpful to have someone like Susan start asking questions about your process or like probing on things to figure out? Because I think sometimes we know it in our head, but it's non-transferable, right? Like, how do I get this out of here onto paper? And so sometimes people can spew that, but was it helpful to have someone walk alongside of you to like get that out of you and onto like a system?
Absolutely, because I would have never done it. I'm not gonna lie, I would have never done it if she wouldn't have pushed me. And it's made such a difference, because then I'd start to write the processes, and then she'd question them because she was also managing projects with us. Yep. So it was like, well, you forgot about this piece, and it was a piece I didn't even know we were necessarily doing. Mm-hmm. So we would get through those, and they were pretty complete. And then now they get reviewed on a regular basis.
That's awesome. Susan, would you say it's valuable to have somebody, whether it be external or team member, like join you on the journey of getting the processes documented?
For sure, because I'll give you a perfect example. Our accountant who works for us, we were having problems with payroll. We're like, why does this take so long? Why is it so confusing? Why are things wrong? And the accountant said, oh, I can document what we do. She's like, I love documenting processes. She sent us over this 20-page document that made our head explode.
Wow.
We said, can we fix this for you? And we spent maybe a couple hours. We streamlined, we built her some templates, we changed everything, and we said, now, we might have left something out, so try it on the next run. She's like, this just saved me 5 hours a day, doing 5 hours for each of your payrolls.
Wow.
Wow.
And because she was just documenting what she did, she wasn't thinking about alternatives. So that's why it helps to have somebody help you.
Huge. I'm going to shift off system and process, but I like Q&A times. Anybody have anything? You're like, help me understand what kind of process would I start with, or where do I begin in that area? Charles, I love that you always look
No, we
around and
look
then you just
around
go,
first.
man, do it. What do you got for us?
I don't want to slog up all the questions, right?
Take it. You got the floor.
So we have like a Kanban style processes. They're to do ones that we haven't made, ones that we've made that need to be drafted. Then we go through the leadership team, review them all, peer review, and then we send them up to our team for them to sign off on that they've read it. And then every time it bounces back, like once we review it or there's an edit or something that bounces back, they have to sign off. How do you get people to follow them though? Like we have to still remind people. It's like, hey, we have you're not following the process for this. Like, why did we make this mistake? We don't make it that often as much, but why did you make the mistake? How come you didn't follow the process? What is that?
Are you looking at my next question? Man,
Do
you're
you
good.
have an answer for that?
You're good.
Go ahead and hit it. I'll do it too.
Yeah. So one of the things we do out of the gate is when we're onboarding someone, they have to read all the processes. They're all stored in Teamwork currently, and then they have to comment that they've read them.
Didn't you have somebody who started that and said they weren't going to do it, and you were like, okay, well then you're not working here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
the
like,
process.
I'm not going to do all this, and he's like, okay, next.
Wow. Yeah, that's one way to weed them
Wait
out.
a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we change a process, though, then we make sure that everybody's, whether we make a PDF of it or somehow we redistribute it, or we'll bring it up in a quarterly meeting. And make sure-
But you're still asking, okay, great, you do all those things. The important part of process, people are going to make mistakes. But if you look at your business as a process-driven business, every mistake that happens can come back to the process. So instead of addressing the person, Andrew, you messed this up, it's wrong, right? You can say, hey, Andrew, the outcome of this solution, the outcome of this situation was not really what I expected. Where did we go wrong in the process? Now, don't you feel like working with me to say, oh, let's look at that, let me see. And now you're bringing that process back into the management of your business as well as the solution-oriented future of your business. You're keeping them living and breathing. And you're involving the team in maybe identifying something that the process needed to change, or a situation outside of the norm that might need to be addressed.
Yeah.
You also then at that point might find out, oh, they didn't do it. And if they didn't do it enough times, now you have an HR issue. If your process is not being followed, it is not only harmful to the specific situation, it's also harmful to all the other employees, to your culture and everything, because then the rest of your employees start saying, well, they don't have to do it. Why do I have to do it?
100%.
And now you're starting to go back into chaos. So you've spent all the time and effort to document all of this, to roll it out. You have a great structure of how you're following through and keeping them up to date. You're doing a lot of the hard work. But if you have people that won't do it, they're totally destroying your efforts.
What I like about this too is that it's not you telling them where the process was, where the hiccup is. You're inviting them into like, where did the process break down? So now if they didn't notice it, now they will, but they're part of the solution. I love that, as versus me just telling you, you didn't do the process, right? I
Well,
like that.
and granted, we're an operations business, so it's easier for us to be very process oriented, but I don't even have to prompt my team to go make the process update. When we solve a problem, we fix it with the client or whatever the situation is, and immediately they will say, I'll go update the process.
That's awesome. I like that. I saw that hand.
Yeah, how do you balance like innovation and maintaining a process, like so that you're not constantly updating the process and making it a laborious thing, but also you're not innovating so much that you always have to change things? Like how do you balance that?
That's difficult because we're constantly in that world where software is changing or new tools with AI and things like that are constantly coming at us. So it's just evaluating, should we adopt something new and change the process? If we're innovating at the time, then we're planning that we'll change the process, but we'll wait for the outcome before we completely change the process.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe you guys communicate to the team like, hey, we're kind of in innovation mode.
Yes.
And so then you're all on the same page that things are probably going to change.
Right. So when we're working through the EOS process,
We
right?
said it right.
And as we've gone through that, then we meet every week in the L10 meeting. So if we have a process that needs to change, then we'll identify it, or if we're discussing something that may change the process, then that'll go on a task list for future to make that happen.
You also don't want to proselytize professional jobs. Like, you're not building a process of how a software developer develops software. You're building the structure around that activity so that, they remember how to test it and send it and do the beta and all those things. That all of the scope of the project was included. You're not teaching them how to code, just like with a designer, you wouldn't teach them how to design. So that innovation can still live in that space.
As a founder owner, do you guys have a particular threshold of an activity that basically tells you, okay, now this is time that I need to document and delegate this versus the thing that you're keeping on your plate? Like, where's your kind of line for like designating those things?
You have a great answer.
Yeah.
You don't do anything.
I don't, right, yes, you said, I almost don't do anything. I have 1 or 2 projects that I code on.
Yes.
I manage sales, marketing, and I still run payroll. It's the one I'm not really ready to give up yet. But, as we go through though, I'm starting to hand things off, and the next one will be more of the marketing. I'll oversee and approve the marketing efforts. I'm still stuck in the sales part of it by choice because I'm struggling with what Susan said. 25, 30 years business experience. How do I teach someone to ask the right questions to build a software project? So that's the challenge I'm struggling with on how do I teach that to get the right questions answered for that. So that'll be one of my last pieces that I hand off as I start to work down that path and figure it out.
Yeah.
And we always recommend sales being the last, because as the owner, that's where you're making your money, and probably nobody's better at selling your company than you, unless you really hate it, and then maybe you're doing something else and you have a salesperson. But I'm sorry, will you repeat the question? I got so off on your answer and excited about.
Good. But you're not doing anything.
I'm
Who
like, I
wouldn't
don't
get
think we
excited about
answered
that?
it.
Yeah, but yeah, just as you're going through this process,
How-
like, what's the threshold of
Right.
get this off my plate?
When to
versus
hand
what
it
you're
off.
getting onto?
So my favorite is, I hate doing this. I don't want to ever do it again. That's absolutely one of the first things that I'm like, okay, how do I never do this again?
Yep.
The other is when you're like, this takes way more time than it should. For a while, I had several people on my team that were selling. They did a good job. So I can let that go one day. But I had commissions payout, and our structure was confusing, and sometimes we paid referral fees to partners, and I knew all this in my head, so I had to do it. And after about the 4th or 5th quarter, that I'm like, this is so hard. We have got to proselytize this. We did it, and I never touched it again. But it also made me build a better structure of how we're doing it. So sometimes the answer is, if you're doing the work, how can you make it a scalable system to be able to build a process and hand it off? Because sometimes that is all messed up in your own head too.
Identifies that it's a problem that needs to be solved there beyond just having someone else do it.
Right. So if you can systemize the solution, then you can document it and move on.
I think another piece that goes along with that is trust, is that you've really got to have the right people in place so that when you hand these things over, that you can just trust that it's going to happen. And you have to get over the idea of they're not going to do it the way I would do it necessarily. But if the outcome is exactly the same, then it doesn't matter. And once you realize that, it makes a big difference.
Or the outcome is they do it. Which sometimes we just don't do it, right?
Yeah, someone's doing it. So I'm gonna get to Jonathan, but on the heels of that, how do you build that trust so you could delegate something without having constant oversight? Because it feels like I would have to micromanage somebody now, right? Because I don't trust them to do it. So how do you build this trust you're talking about so you can delegate it and not have to be looking over their shoulder 24/7?
You want me to? Okay.
I'll let you start.
I am not naturally a micromanager, so that helps. I am naturally a trusting person, that helps. I give them the opportunity to succeed or fail, and I hope I'm setting them up with the right tools to succeed. If they're failing, I don't jump to it's their fault. I jump to it's my fault because I haven't told them what I expect. And that usually flags there's a process or something that's missing. Hire good people, give them the reins, tell them what you expect, let them go. That's how I trust people. And if they're not trustworthy, get them out fast.
Yep, so to that same thing, it's very similar to what Susan's doing. I mean, once I realize I can hand something over, it's just like you can just feel the weight of it being gone.
So freeing.
So it's just like, I don't ever have to do that again. But it's the same thing, and it comes back to setting the expectations. If you set the proper expectations with them, go through the process with them, and give them all the information. A lot of times, as the owner, it's like, I keep all these things in the back of my head, and there's still things they're drawing out, even though we've written processes. So we try not to go after somebody. Then it's like, oh, they messed this up. But it's just really the training part of it. Hand it over, train them how to do it, and then just let them run with it.
When we train new hires on the consulting process, the consulting part of our jobs, most of them can do the implementation. That's why they're hired. The consulting part is harder. When we do that, I don't even have to ride along with the new people anymore. I can have my senior people ride along with the new people. And so we have one of them drive and the other one, follow. And then the next time we flip the script and then we can exit. The other can exit and they are good on their own. Or we know they aren't.
Or the other one exits.
Right.
Yes.
I think the other part of that with the trust then as well is the culture.
Yeah,
is that when you're bringing people into the company, we've just made this switch with the EOS, is that if you don't fit within our core values, we're not going to hire you. So knowing that someone will fit in there, like if they fit within the values and we know that their resume stands up, if there's some training components still left, we would rather have that than have someone that we're going to really have to mold even culture-wise.
Yeah.
We want them to be part of the team and really enjoy and be around for years.
Makes sense. Jonathan, back to you.
Yeah, so going back to the question of documentation and communication of that documentation, have you found particular strategies or even a tool that has helped with that process of creating that documentation and then sharing it with the team? So it seems like the communication of those processes through that documentation is one of the hurdles.
So if you want details on that, efficiency amplified, but top level, what Charles explained is a great solution. I think Charles, Joe, It's probably my fault. They use teamwork.com. I don't know if you've heard me say that enough this week. One of the beauties that why I like Teamwork is it has notebooks in it that when you document a process and write it in it, it's a low-end Word document. When you update that document, you can choose who to send it to, and it comes to them redlined, so you know what changed, which is so much better than, please see the new updated process that's 15 pages long, and I'm not going to tell you where the change is, right? So some way to notify the change. The other is to also follow up and confirm that the team member read the change. You can do that multiple ways, right? One could be building a task in your software tool, your project tool, and assigning it to each of them. I think you all do that. Yes. The other could be you have a Slack channel and you post, I need an emoji when you read this process. If you do that, you have to police it a little bit, but you can get a thumbs up or whatever you need for them to acknowledge that they did it. And once they're acknowledged that they get it, or got it and read it, if they don't ask a question, they are now accountable to it.
Right.
Even if they do ask a question, they're accountable to it, but at least you know you need to address something further.
Yeah. I'm going Jesse first, then to you.
Let's say that you delegate some important job function to somebody and it just doesn't develop. What are the signs to you that this was the wrong person versus I didn't give them enough training? Like my natural reaction when somebody doesn't succeed as I give them is to say, let me jump in and micromanage and like watch you do it and tell you exactly how to do it and basically do it myself.
You sound like my brother. So I think some of it is to actually do what you're saying is a little bit, is to sit down, if we're talking about coding, to sit with them, look over their shoulder, show me what you're doing, show me what you understood, and then determine if it's a training issue, a process or issue, or a person issue. And then try to avoid the micromanagement part of it. So that's the hardest part, is that, oh, I can do this faster. I know I'll do it right. But it's learning those pieces, because then that goes back to building the trust. Once you can identify whether it was one of those three, and if it continues to be a person issue, did they hear it right? And some of it's in the instruction that we provide. We found, when I would explain something to have somebody go code something, well, I had 5 steps left in the back of my mind that I didn't spit out, assuming that they would just know to do that. So some of it was my fault, and I've had to own that. But as we've gone through those processes, now we're spending more time and we're being more deliberate about how we hand things off to some of the developers as well.
And never take it back. Never ever take it back, never ever do it. If they have made a mistake, help them figure out how to find the answer, don't tell them the answer. And then send them back to either fix their mistake or to continue down the path, whichever is most appropriate. And if they continually can't do it, then you probably have a people problem.
Yeah. You've probably heard that like do, show, teach, debrief kind of model, right? Do it where they're watching and show them to do it. Then they're supposed to do it with either you watching, and then you got to debrief like, all right, where did we miss the mark, or what is the documentation or process? So that's probably been, I think, what we're talking about, right? But I love this, don't take it back.
Don't take it back.
That is the most common tendency, right?
Yeah, it is.
Just put it back on my plate. I'm going this way.
Curious to know your opinion on AI agents alongside employees, trained threads, uploaded SOPs that employee continue to use that thread, having access to that thread after they leave. It seems to be the future of way things are going. I'm just curious. So, everybody's talking about them. I'd like to, if you had any success stories of people using them effectively.
We use ChatGPT on the Teams version. So that means I also own I don't really see into their chats, but I own it. And if they're gone, I can disconnect them from it. So that has worked, and plus it also lets me give the overall ChatGPT team our language, our typical responses, the way things are usually worded, that kind of stuff. I can't see into their day-to-day, but I know that it has the right background, and I know that I can kick them out.
So you're saying teamwork has ChatGPT built into it? So
No.
Okay.
Separate tool.
Layered on.
ChatGPT Teams. You can buy that.
Yes, but so then you can lock them out. They don't run away. It's still your proprietary because you're paying for their kind
I'm
of
paying for
subscription.
theirs, and it's under their company email address.
Yep. Cool.
One thing you can do, if you want to do that, we keep all of our process docs in Notion. And GPT, you can actually has an integration to Notion, so you can literally ask GPT, what's our process on X? And it'll pull up the doc and summarize it for you.
You can do that with Gemini in Google Drive too, if you're doing, yeah.
You're asking a deeper question.
Oh, maybe
about,
when we
like,
switch.
actually using like agentic AI to like do the workflow, right?
Oh, I have no problem with
I
that.
would say assisted. I would say definitely assisted.
I have no problem with that.
Uh,
Do it.
I'm bringing on somebody next week, two weeks from now, and I'm gonna go for it. I'm hesitant to chat GPT because it's public information, what you feed it.
Turn off.
So it's not being shared.
It's not.
Oh, really?
Paid version's not, and you can turn off.
Still kind of-
They know everything anyway. But there is a button that you turn off that does not share back to improve the model. I think that's what it's called.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody know any agents that use Claude?
Yes, I have a colleague that uses Claude.
So we,
We have a Slack bot as well that has access to all of our docs.
And I have a client and referral partner who literally works with teams around like how to build agents and like how that all integrates and coming up with process and stuff. And so like if you need help to kind of figure that out from a consultant perspective, I have a name for you that I can share.
That's nice.
Love that.
You know, we also at this point, if we write a process for a client, you know, we talk with them, we pull the information out, we write it. It goes through ChatGPT before it's delivered because it will poke holes in it that we didn't think of.
and we'll start like with some of the simpler process, like we didn't have an HR process to fire someone. So we'll start with, okay, we write an HR process to fire someone for a software company, and then we spelled out like 10 more different things in the prompt that we wanted. And it'll come back, it'll be close. It won't be exactly what you want, but it'll save you hours of sitting there trying to figure it all out.
I was gonna ask you, like, what are some of the common starting points for creating documents and efficient during the process?
A great way to start is a video. Do y'all know Loom?
Amazing.
It's amazing. Document what you're doing, talk through it, hand it off, and then you can also have that person write it up. Writing is important. Making it written or making it into a checklist template is important. If you're just trying to document with videos, things change enough that now you have to go re-record a whole video because you wanted to make, you know, just a little change. So moving it to that next step is important, but the video is a great first start.
Yeah. And we had some of our team members documenting their own process via video versus me doing it. You've been in that seat, or someone that's going on maternity or paternity leave, or like, I think it's a great last year. Oh, you just gave your 2 weeks notice? Great. All you're doing is recording your job for the final 2 weeks, right? To help me for the handoff and the knowledge transfer. So
Some of my staff meetings are 3 Loom videos. I have it to a point where my virtual assistant, she's been with me for 2.5 years now. And like in the beginning we met regularly, but now I literally just say, here's the Loom video, here's everything I need you to do. We don't even meet. She just texts me whenever she.
wow.
Well, and I also didn't phrase the question very well, sorry.
Okay.
We create a process doc for every service we provide.
Okay.
That shows like how it's gonna be operated, what the timeline is, the estimated number of hours it should be, you know, things like that. And so we can space out like approximately how many weeks, how to sell it, things like that. And the service doc. Are there documents like that that you typically see in businesses that like, hey, you should always start with having one for every service, you should always have one for HR? Like, is there a common theme
Everything.
that you see?
Everything.
Okay.
I mean, start at the pain points, because when you say everything, that is overwhelming, right? It is overwhelming, and you will continue even after you get most of it done. You're like, well, why don't we have a process for this? We need that.
Yeah.
So you'll continue to learn as you implement, but it's everything. So, and also I would say when you get those service, okay, great, you have a written service thing. Now, what's the next step? How do I turn that into the project template to execute it? And that becomes more automation. It can automatically schedule. You automatically have the estimate in your project management tool, all those kinds of things.
Like it. All right. I'll keep rolling. We got a few more minutes. All right. What's a mistake you made when you were trying to step back or take a step back, and what did you learn from it so we could not make those same mistakes?
I'm gonna let you go
There's
first.
so many.
There's so many.
I am never a micromanager, right? I'm not. I don't like to do it, but it turns out I am. I've told some people this story, so you might be hearing it again. Sorry. I was a journalism major. I am real super clear on how I want things written. I care that, when you refer to a business, it's not a they, it's an it. Those kinds of things. And when I started the company, I wrote all our blogs. Didn't have anybody else to do it, right? It had to be me. So eventually, I hired a content person who knew me well. She could write all of our blogs, not a they, because it was one person. She wrote all the blogs. She did a really good job. She was also a journalism major. She knew my pet peeves. She handled it. She moved on, and we went with a marketing company. Now, the marketing company doesn't care about my pet peeves as much as my direct employee did. So I proofread every single blog. Turns out that really doesn't save time. So that was one of the mistakes I made, is trusting that anyone in this room that read that blog would care that a business was referred to as a they. They just don't. Nobody does but me. So I had to let it go.
And the AI would care, because you would tell them.
You would tell, right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Write it in this exact way, yeah.
Sometimes, but they forget. It forgets. I don't know what is it.
Yeah. IT. Did you, is there anything you learned when you first tried to start pulling back that you felt like, this was a landmine or a pitfall?
I think some of it was more so that I was feeling guilty. That I'm not doing some of the things. And that, I feel like I should be contributing there, or doing something more, or trying to program, that I'm not directly earning for the company. And I think that's been my greatest struggle as this continues to move forward, more so than like some of the bigger mistakes.
And my guess is that was kind of all internal. It wasn't like your team was saying you're not doing this or doing that. It was more that was you.
Yeah, that was all
felt
me.
Guilt.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
I had a good one with that too. Ever get yourself out of something and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to help them out. I'll just do this. I'm here. I can knock it. And then you mess up everything. You're just in the way. So that's been a mistake I make too. I'm like, I'm going to jump in and help them out. They're so busy, or they're out today, and it ends up not helping anybody.
Interesting.
I was that way, and I had to have someone else point that out to call me a nice micromanager. I said, what do you mean by that? He says, well, they now know you're going to do that, so they just wait on you. And then when you come around, by the end of the day, your list of to-dos are more, because you're going to do it anyway, so they're like ready.
They hand it off. Interesting.
You're making their life easier.
I say that a lot. I'm out. I don't want to be a nice micromanager. Thank you, David.
Take your monkey back, right? That's
Yes.
the 1 minute manager meets the monkey.
Yeah.
If you've never read that book, grab it. It's super fast to read. And it's about people bringing their monkeys and leaving them in your office.
Yeah.
They need to go with
You're
them.
inviting them.
Right.
Here's the sign.
It makes you feel valuable.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to ask to kind of piggyback off what you just said. I would suspect that you probably, I'm projecting, but I would suspect that you probably felt like, I'm not needed anymore, so where do I fit in? Did you ever have that sort of like, almost like an identity crisis of like, where do I fit now?
I still do. Because it's been more and more, so it's like, well, how do because it's like the CRM, Jarvis is kind of my baby, but my brother's kind of grabbed that away from me a little bit now. And, I've had even Beth tell me, no, you're not involved in this. Okay, so it's, you put all the right people in place, and it's starting to realize it's like, I've created a monster in a way, because now it's like, they kind of don't need me anymore. So it's like this wonderful place to be and this terrible place to be for me. But it means that I've got the right people. And it means that we've got the right things in place. And now I can really focus on what's important to grow the company, as opposed to being involved in the day-to-day.
And that's the hard work.
Yeah.
Which all of the rest of that stuff is real easy to get back into instead of doing the hard work.
There's some easy, fun tells that tell whether your business can actually run without you. Like, how would you know? What are some tests you could run on yourself?
What were your tests?
What was my test?
Yeah.
Well, you kind of helped with the first
I
one.
know.
Was it 2 years ago?
It was
3 years
longer
ago.
than that. Remember, Carol sent you first.
Carol.
Carol, the coach.
Okay, so I had a little vacation that I was sent on, and I was told to shut down. It was short. It was probably a week, and phone went in the vault when I got to. I think we went to Mexico, but phone went in the vault in Cabo, and that was it for the week. The longer one was 3 years ago. My wife and I flew to the Maldives, and through that, I delegated everything. I delegated payroll, and I never do that. I mean, I'm gonna run payroll. No one touches the bank account. I pre-moved everything, so I didn't have to move any money. And I received one text in about 21 days, and it was from Danielle confirming that there was something weird with the COVID stuff coming back, and it didn't apply. But other than that,
Which wasn't work.
it had nothing to do with work. That was the only text I got externally. The phone was, they actually locked me out of my Google accounts. So they actually, I couldn't
Changed
even-
his password.
Passwords were changed. The only thing I had access to was the bank, and I never looked. But that was, to lay on that little lagoon for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, was amazing. But I was really reset after that.
And then you were energized to do the business, right?
Yes.
I don't ever recommend anyone shutting down for 3 weeks without considering how to get there. Start with a long weekend and mean it.
Yeah.
And then start to escalate. But taking time away when you are not being interrupted on your personal days, that you even maybe have somebody on your team whose job it is to protect your time away. So everyone goes to them. If there is an emergency, they have the judgment of whether or not to get you or whether or not they can solve it. They also have the power to solve it. And sometimes that's the hard part, is I'm gonna back you even if I would have done it differently.
Right, and I think that's important, is that people need to know what decisions they can and cannot make in your absence, and how far they can go, and that's super important. We definitely have no one can get fired without my approval. So that's an obvious one.
Come back to clean house.
So because that could be terrible. But excuse me, but to have those types of things delegated and to know what people, but even on the day-to-day, they know what their boundaries are. That I can make this decision. I can go try ClickUp and start the subscription. I don't need to ask.
I want to point something out, Susan. That was a great point that you made, and this is beyond processes. It is in the delegation, the ability to delegate not just the responsibility, but the authority.
The authority.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So sometimes that's what we tend to do, is give them, I want you to do this, but I haven't really given you the authority
Right.
to you and everyone else. So
Yeah.
that was a great point.
And it's really hard to stay out of it after you've done it. Even if they're doing it regularly and you do trust them, sometimes you step on their toes.
Yeah,
Stay in your lane after you make a new lane.
that's good.
Yeah.
I've given authority out, and that person exercised that authority, and then team members circled back to me through the back door to be like, hey, do they have the approval to do this? Which lets me know I'm still bottlenecking it, because even people that have delegated authority and are exercising it, the other team members still feel like, oh, well, I'll go around them because I'll get Brandon's approval for sure.
You can't let, go from mom to dad, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that. So somebody was disciplined on the team, and then I'm getting messages from Slack. They want to know, why is this happening? Your company's being ruined. This person shouldn't be in that job. And it's like, I have delegated that authority to that person. I stand behind their decision. If you have a problem, you need to go back to them. You have to push it back.
Good.
Because once you undermine the authority, then that trust that person's built with me is now broken.
Yep.
And you might have to back a decision you don't 100% agree with. You might have to do that. At least you can still talk to the person about it separately, but if they are managing someone, you have to have their back.
Yeah.
You have to have their back.
What about the opposite where, let's say I have a CEO that comes back to me too much, and it's like, go ahead, make the decision, I trust you. I'll back you with the decision, but they still kind of feel things my way all the time. How can I strengthen them up?
So one way to do that is to say, don't answer their question. Ask them, what do you think we should do? Put it back on them. And then when they answer the question and they're right, which they probably will be, you can just say, yep. And then let them do it 2 or 3 times. And after are you getting the message?
Yeah, this is kind of a savior
I
complex.
don't need this. I don't need the questions. And you can encourage them. If it continues and it becomes frustrating, you can even say, I don't want you to ask me these questions. These are questions you do know the answer to, and you're getting a safety. I am providing you safety that you don't need.
I love it. I want to shift to this one because this is how I want to end this. What does it feel like when you've actually achieved this kind of freedom that we're all hoping we will get to soon?
It's wonderful and weird. So a quick example of that is Beth took a week vacation, and her messages and stuff said, contact so-and-so. Wasn't me. And James was there, and he was out, and he was even out for a day somewhere in between there too. And then we're all sitting in the L10 then, and we're starting to talk before the meeting, and I'm like, no one reached out to me the entire time you were gone. And she says, well, it's working. So
It's hilarious.
okay.
Right? She did her job.
So that means that she did her job, James did his job, and the person, and I forget who it was, Mandy was delegated to take the messages. Everyone did their job. No one needed me.
Yeah, and I think that that's true. I mean, I went on a 2-week Mediterranean cruise, didn't talk to anybody at all. It was wonderful. Wonderful. And when you come back, you feel like, okay, did something break or did somebody not know something? Okay, let's fix that thing. But it wasn't an emergency. It wasn't a catastrophe. Everything got handled. It's very freeing to know maybe I will just take Friday afternoons off because I want to. And to be able to know that I don't have to work super hard before my vacation so I can have it. It's just going to fall in naturally. All of those things are so relieving, and it opens your mind when you come back from those vacations to a more creative and relaxed approach to your business, which can really change the trajectory of your business a lot.
Yeah.
I think Charles had
I was just gonna say, how long do you feel, like, I went away this summer, and I was on a 12-hour difference time zone, and I had virtually no continuity. I made it for 2 weeks, no problem. I don't think I want to go too much longer right now, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So how do you feel, like, how long can you go away for? Like, is it indefinitely now, or?
Well, I mean, you had a month
Right.
gone, but you worked some of it.
A little
right?
bit of it. So
Yeah, a little bit's fine.
I did a little bit. So when we went to Italy, we were gone entirely last October. We flew out. We started Paris, Venice, Florence, Rome, Amalfi Coast, Sicily, back to Paris.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, I'm not going to brag about the vacation, but I just want to give you an idea of the scope of it. When we got to Rome, then we were at Rome FileMaker Week, where I saw you, Charles. And so I did the conference then while I was there. So it was kind of piggybacked into that. But I was very comfortable on that trip because somebody could contact me if they had to, but no one needed to. The only contact I had was sitting on one of the high-speed trains. A client called me that I was unexpected, but I took the call because I was sitting on the train. And it turned into a project, so it was totally worth taking the call. But I think to get more to your point, I think the 3 weeks in the Maldives, I read like 3 books when I was there. At 12 days, I was asking myself, how many more days could I do this?
Yeah.
Because I can't sit still, but my mind finally got into that calm state where I was just relaxed, and I was able to just sit there, and I would, I was on the beach, I'd snorkel. I'd go back to laying and reading a book on my phone, and just.
How long could the business run without you?
How long could it run without me?
Because you're sales.
I'm doing the sales.
Yeah.
So I would say probably that 3 week to 4 week mark is it. And I mean, that would be the most that it could go. Now it was semi-connected through that trip, but there were blockout times of 10 days here and there throughout it that when we got to Sicily and went to the beach, that was it. I'm not here. But I would respond through Slack and things like that every week or so like that.
My co-author of this book, Tom Bronson, is an M&A guy, and he will say 3 weeks is the perfect time because, and I agree with this, and I've had this experience. The first 5 or 6 days, you're still dreaming about work. You're like waking up going, why am I thinking about this, right? The next week is when you start to relax. And then the week after is when you're like, okay, I'm starting to get energized enough to go back. So he would say that's a great vacation measure. It's also a good vacation on how measure on how sellable your business is. The longer you can go, the more sellable your business is going to be, because a new owner can step in and see, oh, I don't have to do anything. The business is running. I just own it. So it depends on your goals. If you're going to continue to run your business and you want to maintain the sales aspect of it, you probably can't do more than 3 or 4 weeks because you have to keep the sales coming in. Right. If you have a backup that can do some of the sales, I have a backup that can do some of my sales, that maybe could take longer. My problem is I like my home, so I tend to miss being home before I miss being at work.
Susan, to your point, my M&A guy told me, he was a little rougher. He said, your business is dependent upon you, and you can't take time off. Therefore, I can't help you sell it. You don't own a business, you own a job.
Exactly.
Right.
And you cannot sell a business that is dependent on you. You can't.
Something else that's important with that too, it's not necessarily the vacation or the time away, it's the experience. So as you're going through and spending time in these different countries, these different cultures, for me, it's kind of re-inspired my creativity because my wife's a history buff. She loves history, so she'll dive into the history. So when we went to the Colosseum, we went to, I couldn't tell you how many museums we saw. Maldives, we went to museums and we did all these different things. But to experience the different cultures, the different foods, to see the different architecture and the landscapes for me, the photography that I enjoy, it kind of reinvigorates my creativity.
Yeah.
Some of the simplicity with Europe for me is overly inspiring. Be able to walk out of a hotel and walk down the street and buy some groceries if you want something. You could walk another block the other way, and it's like, wow, life is so much simpler and slowed down. And so those things kind of inspire me to, how can I change things within my business to fit these new mindsets?
Yeah.
Cool. I see another hand.
essentially you're clearing all this space, taking everything off your desk and all these responsibilities, but like, for what ends? Like what's
It depends on your goals. So my exit, so what is your exit, right? We're all gonna exit from our business, one way or another, intentionally or unintentionally. So what is your goal? Is your goal to one day just shut it down? That's okay, that's a goal. If that's what you want, maybe you don't have to do as much of this. If you wanna hand it down, my goal, I have someone I wanna hand it to, not a family member, by the way, because that's hardly ever works, but, and so we are working together on how that works, but I can't hand it down to her unless I can be out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working towards that together. If you want to sell it, and David might have some input on this too, man, the buyers are going to look into every nook and cranny that's there. Your finances better be perfect. You better be out. My colleague Tom, that I wrote this book with, has another book called Maximizing Business Value, and that lists about 62 different areas that a buyer would look at. So that might be something to look up on Amazon, and if that's the path you want to go. That's a much harder path. Exiting by sales, much harder path.
Yeah, we've coached someone together, and he's still working because he doesn't know what his why is. Like, he probably could exit, but he hasn't figured out like what it is. He would be bored, and so he's just doing it to do it. So I think it probably differentiates between, you know, what your desires and other passions are, I would imagine. I would like to see what it would feel like to be bored on a vacation, though. I would give that a shot once or twice. I know we're at time. I just wanted to say, is there any final inspirational story or anything that you would share that you would say, is there a key takeaway, like because it's easy to go back and be like, I'm just going to go back into the business and just get back on the hamster wheel after this. So is there something that next time we find ourselves drowning or bottlenecking, to remind ourselves to like keep encouraging, to keep pushing for this? Because it does, you both seem way less stressed to me, by the way, than years gone by. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say, look way down the road, So for me, I'm looking down, and this is kind of continue on with your question, Jonathan. What does your life look like at retirement? What do you want your retirement to look at? The traditional retirement is, I'm done with work, I'm going to go do stuff. But that's not always how it plays out. We don't know what our health is going to be like at retirement. So live now and work towards these things to, be able to, enjoy that time and have the funds you need, but figure out how you can pull back enough till you can enjoy your life and do the things all the way through. If we wait till 75 or 80, we may not be able to travel at that point in time. So figure out what the balance is between now and then still shoot for those as targets. Oh, you know what? When I'm 75, I'm still going to be traveling to Europe. I'm going to have a house in Italy. But what does that look like? Are you still going to own the business? My goal is to still own the business, and to be able to hand it down, but to be able to, instead of having somebody give me a big payday for it, draw out of it and still be involved, because I can't sit still. So I'm going to need something to do. But it's also freed me up, because my wife and I have an art business together with the stained glass and the fused glass. I'm involved in this conference. I'm invested in the conference in Naples now as well. So I've got all these other things that I'm doing, and it lets me spend more time in there. But what it's really done for me is I'm present for my family, where I wasn't, 15 years ago.
Great.
Yes, it's a huge difference. I will tell a story about one of my clients who came to me about 3 years ago. She was totally burned out. She's like, she just couldn't, I can't do this anymore. She was in everything. She was doing project management. She actually wrote the preface or the foreword in this book. She was in everything. And she came to us wanting help to get out. We literally took everything off her plate. I think she sat by the pool and read for 3 months because she needed that to recover. And so also knowing when you're at that space to ask for help, because you will run your business into the ground, or you will throw up your hands and give up, and now you have nothing. You can get that help. And while we were doing it, we helped her increase her sales by 65% while she was sitting still reading a book.
Wow. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
So, we had to systemize it for her, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, that's, and she laughs. I tease her all the time that, she just, now that's all she does. And she is more excited back in the business, trying to grow it now, but she got reinvigorated during that time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just want to say I appreciate you both. Thanks for being real, sharing the honest parts about it, and I think it does inspire us to be like, all right, this is obtainable, achievable, and worth it to systematize and process and stop bottlenecking. Mm-hmm. Speaking of bottles, we've got some drink tickets and things ready upstairs, so we're gonna end. But I just want to say thanks for sharing and.